Suppose you are building an application, a social app for example. You need to store users, so you do the simplest thing. You open a file called users.txt. Every time someone signs up, you append a line with their name, email, and password hash. That is already a database. A very small one, but a database. Let's see how far we can push it. And let's watch every modern database we know grow out of its problems. You now have 1 million users. Someone tries to log in. To check their password, your program has to scan the entire file, line by line, until it finds them. At 10 million users, a single login takes seconds. The app is unusable. The first fix that comes to mind is to keep the file sorted. Then reads become a binary search. You look at the middle, go left or right, and cut the work in half each step. That is logarithmic time. Much faster. But look at what this costs on every sign-up. A new user can no longer be appended at the end. Their email has to go in the right alphabetical spot. Every line below that spot must shift down by 1. On average, that moves half the file for every insert. Reads got faster, but writes went from constant time to linear time. That is a bad trade. A better idea is to leave the data file alone, keep it as an append-only log, then build a binary search tree next to it. A tree of emails where smaller values go to the left child and larger values go to the right child. To look up a user, you walk the tree, go left when the email is smaller, right when it is larger. When you find the match, you jump straight to that line in the file. Inserts work the same way. Walk down to the right leaf and add one new node, no shifting. Reads and writes are both order log n. That tree is called an index. It is the first idea every database is built on. Real databases use a disk-friendly version called a B-tree, but the principle is the same. Now imagine this. Two users sign up in the same millisecond. Both server processes open the file, both append a line. One ends up overwriting the other. The file gets corrupted. The first idea is to add locks. But that means locks around every read, every write, every index update spread all over your app code. It is fragile. A better move is to stop letting app code touch the file at all. Add a single program whose only job is to own the file. It takes requests from the app. It orders writes one after another. It manages locking. It keeps the index in sync. It recovers cleanly after a crash. That program is called a database management system, or DBMS for short. When people say database, this is usually what they mean: the file plus the program that manages it. The app grows. Users now have posts, and posts have likes. So let's do the simple thing again. One table for posts and another for likes. In posts table, each row is a post. In the likes table, each row is a like. But a post needs to show who wrote it. So right now, each row carries the author's data in line, their name and their email, copied straight into the table row. Same with likes. Every like row copies the name of the user who clicked it. It works. You can read a post and its author in one shot, no extra lookup. But look closer. Every post stores a full copy of its author's data. Change your email and you have to rewrite every post you ever made. Worse, the same data now lives in 10 places. Any one of them can fall out of sync. The obvious fix is to store each user only once. Then have every post point to them by ID. Posts now have a user ID column. That column points into the users table. To show a post with its author, the database follows the pointer. No duplication. A user's email lives in one place. An email change updates one row. And because the database knows that the user ID in post table is meant to point to user ID in users table, it can enforce that rule. You cannot insert a post whose user ID does not match a real user. You cannot delete a user while posts still point to them. Bad references are rejected at write time. This design has a name, the relational model. Tables are linked by pointers called foreign keys, and the database treats each pointer as a rule. It refuses to let go dangling. To ask questions of this model, you use a language called SQL. You describe what you want, and the database walks the tables and follows the foreign keys for you. You have just arrived at relational databases. Postgres, MySQL, SQLite are built on the same idea, polished for 50 years. Let's follow one query through the system we just built. We run select star from users where user ID equals 5. The database reads the text and turns it into a tree of parts. A planner picks the cheapest way to run it. The engine walks 3 or 4 steps on the tree of the index, lands on the right disk page, reads the row, and returns it in a few milliseconds. Now, let's try a harder query. One that touches 2 tables. You want every post written by user 5, together with the user details. Select star from posts, join users, on post.userid equals users.userid, where users.userid equals 5. That is called a join. The idea is simple. You are stitching two tables together along a shared column. Posts.user.id on one side, users.user.id on the other. Here is how the database runs it. First, it finds user 5 using the primary key index. Then it walks an index on post.user.id to collect every post whose user ID equals 5. Finally, it pairs each post with the user row it already has, two index lookups. No full table scan. That is what the foreign key gives you, a cheap pointer to follow in either direction. The result is one combined row per post, as if the data had always lived in one table. Joins are how the relational model keeps data clean and unique on disk while still letting you ask questions that span many tables. That is a relational database, indexes, tables, a DBMS, and a query language that ties them together. SQL is one of the most successful pieces of software ever written. Postgres and MySQL power Instagram, Discord, and most banks on Earth. You get asset guarantees, 4 promises that make a relational database safe to build a business on. Atomicity. A transaction either happens fully or not at all. Transfer money from one account to another, both rows update, or neither does. No half-applied state, even if the power fails in the middle of the write. How does the database keep this promise? Every change you make inside begin and commit is first written to a write-ahead log on disk, a file that records, "This is what I'm about to do," before anything else happens. Only after the log entry is safely on disk does the database touch the real data. If the power cuts in the middle of a transaction, the database reads the log on restart. It finishes any committed work and throws away anything half applied. Consistency. Every transaction leaves the database in a valid state. Constraints, foreign keys, unique indexes, all enforced. You cannot end up with a post pointing to a user who does not exist. This one is simple. The database checks every rule before it commits. If any check fails, the whole transaction is rolled back. All or nothing. Isolation. Transactions that run at the same time behave as though they ran one after another. Two users updating the same row do not mix their changes and corrupt each other. The engine does this with row-level locks. When one writer has a row, other writers wait their turn. So each transaction sees a clean, stable view of the data it touches. Durability. Once a transaction is committed, it survives crashes, power loss, and disk failures. This promise comes from the same write-ahead log, plus an fsync call that forces the log entry onto the real disk hardware before the database reports committed. If the machine loses power a millisecond later, the data is still there. On top of ACID, you get joins across many tables and a schema that documents, clearly, what your data is. For a new project today, the correct default is a relational database. Do not overthink it. A relational database like Postgres is the right default for almost every new app. But as your app grows, specific pressure points appear, reads that are too fast, data that is too fluid, writes that are too heavy, relationships that are too deep. Each one gave rise to a different kind of database. In the next videos, we will design each one from scratch. If this was useful, subscribe and stay tuned.